No one hears a word. They say, has the memory gone? Are you feeling numb? Not a word, they say. But a voiceless crowd isn't backing down when the air turns red with a loaded hesitation. Can you say my name? Has the memory gone? Are you feeling numb? Have we all become invisible? Humanity hoax. What's up, humanity hoax? We'll take a couple more questions. You have to unmute, dude, if you want to speak.
Oh, for me?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Sorry, I was keeping very quiet. I was being very polite and listening to everybody. I wasn't expecting to get straight on the mic.
Well, did you want to speak? You requested to speak.
I know, and it was a little while ago, so I was being polite
okay.
while you were talking. I'm British. We're the totally politest people in the world.
What's up? Appreciate that. Go ahead, man.
I've missed my point. I'll hang on for a second and I'll jump back in, but I'll mute the mic for a moment and come jump back in at the point when I was going to make the point.
Well, we're gonna probably close pretty soon. So, did you want to make your point?
Well, what I was going to ask was from because I'm an atheist. So coming in as an atheist,
mm-hmm.
talking about the discussion that's been going on earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So from an atheist perspective, and because I'm quite open-minded, so I wouldn't say. There's a debate. Some of my friends call me an atheist. Some of them call me an anti-theist because I'm
mm-hmm.
not anti-God. I'm not anti-God because there could be one. I don't know. And
mm-hmm.
I suppose that's sort of, I'm also I don't know and I don't care because the world's way, way bigger than we're ever going to understand. We're tiny little people on a tiny little planet in a universe that's huge. So from the religious people in the room, for me, let's call for the purpose of this conversation, let's call me an atheist.
Okay.
It's a loose term. I don't need God in my life. It doesn't influence me day to day. Maybe there is one and maybe there is not. So for the likes of me, because what interests me in the world is our ancient history, and I'm fascinated by what's happened in our world. So for someone like me, where do I need God to fit this puzzle for me? Because I'm not preaching either direction. It doesn't matter to me whether he's there or not. For me, in the history that I've got, he whatever how you would class it, whatever that word is. For the likes of me, there are people who hate God. I don't hate God. I think that there are a lot of things that have been done in the name of God that have been bad. I don't think that's God's fault if he's there. For me, he's irrelevant. Sorry.
Okay. So can
I
reply?
Whatever is irrelevant to the likes of me. The God itself is irrelevant. I'm comfortable with spirituality. I'm comfortable there being something there. I'm not just like, we're just like some people who are on a planet and everything.
Can I reply? Ask you a question?
For the likes of
me,
can
you hear me, bro?
Who is open. Sorry, I can hear someone talking. Sorry,
yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt you. It's crackling, so I'll shut up.
Right. So the first thing I would say is that I think it's a question of objective fact. Right. So whether God mm-hmm. exists or doesn't exist is a question of fact, and our biographical details have nothing to do with the truth or falsity of that claim or that issue. So the fact that you don't see it as relevant or it's not something that you're particularly interested in, I mean, I'm not trying to be rude to you, but in the domain of debate or philosophy, those things really aren't relevant. So if you disagree with the God's existence, I would say that you need to give an account for a lot of things that are difficult or impossible to give an account for if there's no theism.
So I'll flip the same hand back to you. Is why does that mean that God's responsible? Same question back. Just because it's difficult, why is that the answer? Well, it's challenging. Same question back to you.
Right. So it's not difficult for our position because I'm not locked into the boxes that atheism puts a person in intellectually.
I didn't say I was atheist.
Yeah, you said for the sake of argument. You said for the sake of argument.
I'm in the middle ground here. So don't compartmentalize. This is a friendly debate because I am right on the fence.
Okay.
I'm right on the fence.
So whatever term you want to use, the non-theist position will have to give an account for things that it uses to argue against theism. So things like logic, things like that.
I'm not arguing against that.
Right. So
Get the terminology right. I'm not arguing against you.
If you're not going to make an argument, then there's nothing to say. So this is a debate. So see at the top of this, it says debating theism. So that means bringing philosophical argumentation and debate.
Yes, but I'm not challenging you. It's and for everyone else in the room, just so I'm not being an arsehole here. I'm sorry, excuse my French. What I'm saying is, for me, I'm not saying no, but for the people like me in the room is
okay. So it's going to be resolved.
Either.
So the question,
fine. So for those people who are on the fence, and I'm a philosophy major. That's what I did at university, and I'm still on a wobble.
So am I. So we should be on this.
It's still a debate because we don't know. We don't know. Yes, God could.
Well, you're saying that.
You're
saying that, but that's not.
Is that middle bandwidth of the people
bro,
who can
hush,
talk? Sorry,
dude, hush.
Go on, you go first. Go.
So you're saying that we don't know, no one knows, but that's not an argument. So we're here to present argumentation, pro or con, for whether God exists. I think there is an argument that proves God's existence. I'm trying to make the argument, which is that it's necessary for the grounding of logic, mathematics, abstract concepts, etc., that there be a God. That's the type of argument that I'm going to do. So I'm answering your challenge. You said I'll flip that back on you. My answer is that God must exist because without God, there's not a justification for logic, ethics, metaphysics, etc. So God is the grounding and the justification for those abstract ideas, concepts, for a worldview. And I'm saying that if you, as a non-theist, have a better account of those things, feel free to offer it.
Okay, so I'll let you make your point, and then can I offer my counter-argument?
I just asked, yeah.
So why do we need God to validate that? Like, let's say it was just me and you in a room, and there's a load of people listening to this. But let's say it was just me and you, and you said you had an opinion on, I don't know, whatever. I don't know, clubbing baby seals to death. And I went, do you know what, that's not a great thing. They went, oh, well, I like doing this. We don't need God outside of that going, do you know what, clubbing an animal to death is bad. We don't need the outside arbitrary all the time. Sometimes you can just go, do you know what,
so you're making value judgment. You're saying something's bad, and I'm asking you what.
Sorry, I lost you then, dude. Sorry,
so
I missed what you said.
You're making value judgments. You're saying something is bad, and I'm just simply asking the kind of question like, how do you know what's the standard for saying something is bad? That's a value judgment. It requires standards, and I'm asking you to justify the standards.
So why? So God can make those judgments and we can't?
No, because in a world where God exists, it makes sense to have value judgments. In a world where God does not exist, there is no justification for value judgments. That's what I'm asking.
Isn't there?
You tell me. You're the non-theist. You're the non-theist.
Right. So,
what is the justification?
You're giving me the floor this one. Let me answer that question. So there's 7 billion people in the world. Why can't we go with enough people in the world go, do you know what, that sucks?
Because that's a fallacy. That's why.
Bad thing. Let me finish my point.
Appeal to masses. Because it's a fallacy.
So let me finish my point.
Your point was a fallacy. That's why.
Why can't we as humanity?
Because it's a fallacy to argue that.
You did the thing that I interrupted you. Let me at
You
least
said why. I'm explaining why.
At least let me answer you.
Yeah, but you're not answering. You're just rambling and stating something that I just said is a fallacy. To say that because a lot of people agree it's wrong is an appeal to the masses fallacy. So that's not going to work.
Okay. So why can't the masses agree the right thing?
Because how is that an argument? Whether they do or don't is irrelevant to the question of justifying the value judgment.
Isn't that just religion of who's got more votes than haven't?
Right.
Isn't that just what America's like, with who votes for
none of what you're saying is relevant. Do you understand what an argument is? None of this is relevant. Totally irrelevant to the argument about justifying claims and ethical judgments.
Okay, so let's use America as that judgment. So who's most ethical?
What?
Republicans or Democrats?
So I have no idea how this is relevant to the epistemological question.
Walk me through this. I'm going to make a point. Who's most ethical of those two parties? Because we're going with, who knows more.
I fail to see the relevance of Democratic Republican politics to the question.
Me for a minute.
I have heard you. You asked me a question, and I'm saying I don't think it's relevant.
Parties. The point is, any of those, one of those parties gets election. I don't.
Sorry, we're going to move on. This is a waste of time. We're moving on.
Always going to be one or other.
Goodbye, dude. Wow. So there we go with atheism, right? I mean, it's like, guys, perfect explanation. Atheism rots one's brain.